Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Entertainment Banter. It's your favorite podcast of the week. My name is Joel.
And I'm Matt.
And we are here to talk to you about some really cool stuff today. We're going out back to our awesome topics.
All right, we have topics.
And today's topic will be rivalries in the comic manga world. What's a good? Yeah, I think it's a good topic. I mean,
rivalries, as in best friends turn enemies.
It could
or
be
enemies
a
turn
rival,
friends?
like storylines that created two characters that are always clashing, where one cannot defeat the other, or one cannot befriend the other, or one becomes enemies to the other. Where it's a reoccurring storyline among these characters in these comic manga world. And for all those fans out there who don't know what comics mean, comics are picture books that are illustrated, and then manga is the Japanese version of that.
We're assuming that if comics survive this coronavirus, they claim that they're going to come back, but we'll see.
We will have to explain what books are probably in the future.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I feel like the brick and mortar type comic book stores might be in trouble if they don't keep making prints. Everyone wants to do digital comics now, which I think is lame. But
which
whatever.
means comics won't go anywhere. It just means it changes formats.
Right. But anyways, okay. So let's hit the two heavy hitters. We got DC, we got Marvel. Which one do you want to talk first?
Let's go right into DC because everyone's favorite rivals that one cannot defeat the other or destroys the other. Pretty much like you said it earlier, off camera, off comm, off what would you call it? Off microphone. You said they are two sides of the same coin, right?
Yes.
Or the same side of the same coin. Wait, what?
No, two sides of the same coin.
Perfect. And that would be
Batman and Joker.
There you go. One cannot exist without the other. They literally need each other.
Yes. And it's definitely a rivalry. It didn't spur from anything significant, though. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a friendship gone south or anything like that. It's just interesting. Everyone loves the idea of a goofy character and a very dark character, and the irony is the dark character is the hero, and the lighter character is the villain.
Right. That was the parallels to them, correct?
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like those two have been beaten to death, you know what I mean? Like, it's so obvious that I don't really have much to add to what people... I mean, if you don't know who Batman and Joker are, then you shouldn't even be listening to this right now.
Yeah, we're not going to explain who they are, but I honestly think that the Christopher Nolan movies portrayed it very well. Christian Bale and Heath Ledger playing the rival characters between each other, and when his last final scene when he has Joker upside down, the last time we ever see Heath Ledger pretty much alive, I think. Like, because, we all know the tragic end to that. He even says, like, you can't get rid of me, I complete you. And it's almost like true, like Batman couldn't kill him. Batman has a code not to kill, but obviously it seems like he does in a lot of these movies now.
Yeah, no,
but in this movie he couldn't. Yeah, I know. He couldn't kill Joker. He couldn't do it. He has to keep him alive.
Although in the first comics, he actually carried a gun, which is kind of interesting.
Did he really?
Yeah, Bob Kane when he wrote them. But I'm gonna kind of advance because, like I said, I feel like we've talked about that numerous times. But the one rivalry in DC where I think is actually a legit one is Batman and Superman. I like the idea that when Superman first shows up, they're two heroes, but. And obviously they become very close friends, almost inseparable friends. But the reality is when they first meet or they're first known of each other's existences, neither one of them likes the other. And I thought I've always liked that idea,
Because they both have different ways of looking at how to solve the issue. Superman likes to use his brute strength and Batman thinks about it.
Right. Well, but Batman took it a step further and he basically saw this indestructible person, and he thought Batman's mindset is that I am going to find out all your weaknesses to everyone in the world, because he's thinking at any point in time, if you go rogue, I'm going to have to stop you.
He has a contingency to take down Superman. He does.
He has contingency to take down all of them. In fact, there's some great story arcs where I think even DC kind of made a movie off of some of the comics, but like it was like an animated movie, but basically like all the Justice League heroes are being systematically taken out, and Batman says, I know what's happening, and they're like, well, what's happening? He's like, these are all of my contingencies. So somebody discovered how Batman would destroy all the Justice League heroes if they went rogue. And so he's in this awkward position.
Didn't they all freak out on him?
Yeah, of course. He's in this awkward position where he's like, basically, they're like, wait, that's messed up, dude. You basically created traps for us to stop us or kill us.
Absolutely.
And he's like, yeah, I did. Totally did. And so he's like, now, do you want to fix it, or do you just want to
argue about it?
Argue about it, yeah. And so it was a great story. It just, again, it shows the testament of Batman's unnerving, unwielding ability to just constantly plan for the future in any scenario and situation. But with Batman and Superman, it's kind of cool to, again, it's like good cop, bad cop. It's, the nice guy versus the not nice guy coming together, and their interactions have always been interesting. And a long time ago, like there was, Warner Brothers did their animated shows and stuff, and they started it with a movie called World's Finest. What I liked about that was Superman shows he's all in the open. He shows his well, actually, this is an interesting point. This is something we could talk about. Superman, comes under this false pretense of like being honorable and just and always telling the truth and being out in the open.
He's a Boy Scout.
He's a Boy Scout, right? And Batman's like the brooding, I get things done the dirty way, whatever, got to do. But what's interesting is, as I was talking about this, I just thought of it. Superman's definitely a hypocrite, and Bruce Wayne totally calls him out on it in some way or fashion at some point in life, because, Clark Kent is his alter ego, so he still hides. He's not out in the open like he should be. I think later in the comics he maybe comes out, or he's permanently Superman. Clark Kent just drops off the face of the earth. Who knows? Sure. But when they first start to know each other, Batman and Superman, Superman peeks. He uses his X-ray vision, sees that Batman's Bruce Wayne, calls him out, says, I don't want any vigilantism in my town. I know who you are, Bruce Wayne. You're Batman.
What a hypocrite.
It's fucked up. He's a hypocrite. But Batman obviously discovers he's Clark Kent, so it's an even trade-off in that show. Right. But it's an interesting thought, though, that Superman claiming to be so high and mighty, but in reality he totally,
self-conscious.
He's not. Like, he cheats. That wasn't very honorable.
His insecurities, man.
Yeah. So, but that's it for DC. I mean, I'm sure there's others, rivalries and friendships, but those are the ones that stand out.
None of them we really care about.
No, right. No. Especially these days. There's hardly anything to care about these days.
DC, you're just an awful company right now.
I mean, you could maybe argue the Robins, like the different Robins are like fighting for Bruce's attention, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, Dick Grayson leaves and does his own damn thing, and they don't talk ever again. And you almost could say Dick Grayson and Nightwing and Batman are totally rivals.
That was a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good rivalry. I would say that.
Nightwing does his own way of vigilante, and he thinks he's doing better than Bruce Wayne. I don't know how he pays for it. Who pays for that?
Well, he's still got Daddy's trust fund. No, he's got a job. He's a cop.
Oh, okay.
He actually has a
Daddy's
daytime job.
Trust fund. Bruce Wayne's not his daddy.
Yeah. Well, he has a trust fund, but no, it's that's a good point, because obviously it's very much a father-son relationship kind of build, or either that or big brother, little brother. I don't know, depending on how you look at it and what story arc you follow. But you don't find it creepy that Batman keeps taking in young children and then making them into vigilantes? Why do you gotta go there? Yeah, why you gotta go
because
there?
I watched the recent movie and it was just creepy. And he goes, "It's a small." Well, he doesn't want to get someone his age. He gets someone like 8 years old who's gonna help him.
It depends on the story. Well, first of all, some of the stories is he's just no. It depends on the story, because just listen to what I'm saying. It depends on the story, because on some versions of the stories, he takes on the ward. The ward discovers his secret, and therefore It's either like I either kill the ward or I make him a part of it. You know what I mean? And a lot of the wards he's chosen over the years come from very tough situations. You got
Troubled backgrounds.
Dick Grayson. He was in the circus, so he's very physical. You know what I mean? Acrobatic. So he could handle the task at hand. Then you had Jason Todd, who came from a rough background. Like his dad was literally in crime, and so a street kid, street punk. Then you had they call Tim Drake, which was basically a brainchild that was created for the animated series of a whole bunch of Robins put together, but same situation, street kid. And then the final one is Damien, and Damien was somebody that was basically spawned out of assassins, like Assassin's Creed. So like he straight up was brought up to be a murderer by the age of like 5, So all these people, even though they were his wards, they weren't normal kids. They weren't fat and trying to go play video games, or they weren't, the kids that were just focused on being the next all-star or something. It's just like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, they weren't normal kids. They had street life. They had very screwed up upbringings.
Good job defending Batman. Let's move on though. Let's move on to
wow, you just blew that right off. Okay, well, you get to talk all the next ones because I know which ones you want to talk about. So let's do it.
Oh, no.
Marvel?
No, we're going to Marvel now. Yeah.
We're going to Marvel.
Why you gotta make me feel so bad? Why? I thought we wanted to talk about all of them. We're running out of time, and you want to freaking talk about
them up.
Bruce
Let's go.
and his damn children wards and all.
Well,
that.
You were talking like Bruce the pedophile Batman, and I'm like, I got to defend my man. I like Batman.
He's like Michael Jackson. I don't think Michael Jackson was a pedophile. I think Michael Jackson.
Batman. Have you not seen Batman or read a comic? He has no Ferris wheels in his backyard. The guy is an asshole. Okay, like he's got nothing fun.
He's got way more fun. He's got the Bat Cave and the Batmobile and the Bat Wing and the Bat Submarine. You know what?
The Bat Ferris wheel.
You know what success means? Success is when you can name every vehicle after yourself.
After yourself, after your bat. My bat condoms. Are you done? Let's move on.
Let's move on. The bat condom never worked. Anyways, going on to Marvel. Yep. What's a good rival in Marvel? Let's say...
I feel like Marvel has way more hero rivals.
So many. They have DC. A lot of hero. Yeah. Well, you got Cyclops and Wolverine.
Yep.
They started out
Magneto and Xavier.
Spider-Man and Doc Ock.
Spider-Man and Green Goblin, which is the hairy one.
You can almost also say Junior. Spider-Man and James Jonah Jameson, can't you?
Yes, to some extent. But I think Peter likes to mess with him more than, you know what I mean? That's like a fun rivalry, I feel like.
Right.
And then I don't want to touch on it, but then of course Captain America and Iron Man a little bit, but I don't want to deal with that. That to me is kind of like a forced rivalry.
Nobody cares.
You know what I mean?
Well, people only care now because of the Disney movies. Nobody cares before that.
Right, beforehand. I've always liked the X-Men rivalries because
there's so many characters and so much development. You can never tell. Like an X-Men can easily be a villain the next comic.
Well, we've never and we've talked about this before. What I love about the X-Men story is it's a story about prejudice, and you're talking about racial tensions. It's definitely what's been going on lately. It's so annoying it's hard to escape it, but but X-Men is a prime example of what's going on. Like there's people being persecuted, mutants are being persecuted,
right?
And it's actually persecution, and so they're afraid, they're in hiding. It's not as extreme as some things, but like. They are definitely. Let's put it this way: like if they were very toad-like or alien-looking, they couldn't hide. They couldn't hide themselves. Like they were exposed.
They physically had to hide.
Yeah, and a lot of them hid in the sewers. And what I liked about the X-Men story arc was the ones that looked quote-unquote normal were the ones that would take a stand and try to help those that weren't so much. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you got the metaphor of like World War II with like the concentration camps and all that stuff, and they never really brought that up. They brought it up a little bit in some of the movies, but that's a big deal because Magneto, yes, but what I'm saying is the whole reason why Magneto was so against society as a whole was because he already lived through the concentration camp life,
Holocaust, the
Holocaust,
but he just wants to do the same thing.
To see the mutants going through that is what I'm saying. Like,
right.
There was prisons created for the mutants, and they call it mutant registration and all that stuff. And so it's a very interesting dynamic between Xavier and Magneto because they were friends with a common cause, but one had the past of violence and one had the past of peace, and so they were always warring with each other on the right way or the best way to handle the situation. And
Right.
they both had the same goal in mind, but the way that they went about it was completely different. And
Because it turned into Professor X believed that they can live peacefully amongst the humans, the normal
Right.
humans, and
coexist.
And Magneto believed that you had to wipe them all out and show him.
Not necessarily wipe them all
show him
at
who's
first,
really
but
boss.
yes.
Yeah, but which is
Well,
I feel is kind of counterproductive to his character, just because he went through the Holocaust and saw the atrocities.
Well, no,
why would he want to do that to another?
well, he
group of
didn't.
people?
No, he didn't at first. He was someone that tried it Charles's way, and then when things got shady, he would punish those that were shady. Does that make sense? He didn't. I don't think he purposely went out and punished everybody. He punished those that came and attacked.
Who needed to be punished?
Right? With no mercy. But
Right.
then there was even a story arc or a comic where he created his asteroid M, the mutant asteroid. So he's like, "Fuck this! You know what? I'm just gonna take everybody. I'm just gonna take all the mutants away from the planet altogether." It's like he's like, I won't fight, but I'm taking them all the way. But even that, there was corruption within the mutants, and so like they ruined it. They still wanted to war with the humans. Like they took his message to the next level. So there was always this constant battle between those two that always kept it interesting. But they were always friends. They always had respect for each other because of their early on careers. I always thought that was a really cool arc with those characters.
They still they still respect each other and they still play chess.
Right. Well, in the movies, that's right. In the movies.
Well, the one's trying to convince the other their side is the better side.
Yeah. And Wolverine and Cyclops is by far one of my favorites too, because you got the classic Boy Scout and you got the classic bad guy image,
Badass.
And then, yeah. And so then the rebel, the loner. But then as you read the comics and everything else, you find out that they do eventually see eye to eye and get along, and then they work together. And it's actually, there's a very brief time in comics, and especially like when they start doing the schism transition and stuff. But then there's a role reversal, and Cyclops becomes more of the bad boy, and Wolverine takes on the mantle of being more responsible. And it's very interesting to see that change through the course of history with the X-Men comics. But you talk Spider-Man. You talk Spider-Man. Tell me about Peter Parker and let's say Doc Ock first. Go ahead. They're dynamic.
Don't put me on the spot like that.
All right, well, let's go.
Well, I don't want to do that. I want to do Spider-Man and Green Goblin.
All right, we'll do Spider-Man and Green Goblin.
All right.
Are you talking about the original Green Goblin, or are you talking about his son, Harry?
Let's talk about...
See, I would think Harry, the son, would be more...
No, the rival... Well, Green Goblin, it's just interesting because, like, Peter did not grow up in any way privileged or anything like that. He was a poor kid, and he was just really smart. But his best friend, Harry, was Harry Osborn, one of the richest kids in the world, right?
Yep.
And so when Peter finally got his powers and everything, his father, Harry Osborn's father... oh my God, what's his father's name?
Harry. They were both Harry.
No, they weren't. No, really?
Norman.
Oh my God, wow. So, anyways, Norman Osborn was also working in the military field and as with his company and creating weapons and all that. And they found a way to enhance the body. And of course, he tried it on himself because he wanted to, expedite the process, and he wanted to show that it works in the military, that they can make superhumans. Because at that time in the comics, when the Green Goblin was made, they were also trying to figure out, the superhumans that created Captain America and all this shit, and they're all trying to still find out how to do it because it was lost ever since Captain America was created. And during that arc, but they couldn't really explain that in the movies because copyright infringement. So then Harry Osborn, then Norman Osborn becomes the Green Goblin and fights Peter all the time, or Spider-Man. And I think it's a very good dynamic between those two, just because you're seeing that this is his father, his best friend's father, and he knew that he finds this out later, and Green Goblin finds out who he is exactly later. So it's like that dynamic, like it's my father, it's my best friend's father. How do I deal with this? And like they attack each other not only physically but psychologically too when they're when they see each other, because they both know that they can't. Deep down, Norman loves his son, so he doesn't want to affect him in person. though he still messes with them regardless. Like, it's a weird dynamic between those two as well. But eventually, the original Green Goblin dies. Harry discovers who his father was, but he thinks Spider-Man killed it. Does not know that Spider-Man is Peter.
Well, in the comics, didn't they make it imply like he goes crazy when he's the Goblin? So it's almost like a plea of insanity kind of thing. So he may not even remember Peter is. I mean, the Goblin personality might remember Peter for who he is, but Norman may not know he's Spider-Man.
That's accurate. But when eventually it becomes, Harry becomes it. But during the Harry and Peter days, when that was going on in the comics, eventually Harry went insane with the Green Goblin power, and then
right.
Eventually he tried to get rid of the problem because he didn't want to hurt Peter anymore. There was a huge dynamic where Harry supposedly changed leaves at this last second and saved Mary Jane and Peter out of like a fire, and Harry actually dies in Peter's hands, and it was a huge remorse. But during the process before that happened, Harry would go to a therapist, and so they wanted to carry the Green Goblin legend on. So the therapist eventually becomes the Green Goblin because he has all the stories. Yeah, so it's actually a comic book arc of that. But because they killed off Harry, they wanted this nice sentiment between the rivals, and that happened. But I digress on that. Moving on to Doc Ock and Spider-Man.
Yes.
Doc Ock was just a scientist that Peter looked up to drastically. Like, Peter has all these idols of scientists. He had Doc Connors. He had Doc Ock, who Octavius. It wasn't even his name. He got the nickname Doc Ock obviously because of his awesome arms.
Yes,
that got stuck to his body in some kind of explosion that happened in
that's
20
the
million
comic.
different ways.
That's the movie version, but
there's
Doc Ock wasn't there
there's many different reasons how he got stuck to it. Also, there's also versions that he's not permanently attached to it.
Right.
So, and that's a weird dynamic too, because he doesn't really hide who he is. And so Spider-Man knows, or Peter Parker knows, that's his scientist he looked up to that has gone insane. I think the movie did it really well of him going insane, but it didn't really show that their relationship in the movie too well, other than the fact that he was a villain and Peter had to stop him.
I know you like that movie, but I can't like that movie, and I didn't like the fact that his arms were manipulating him.
They killed off, really stupid. That was weird, and they killed off fucking Doc Ock, and I didn't like that.
Well, of course. Well, that was Sony back in the day. You one and done villains, which is terrible. They should never do that in any film.
Never should have done that.
No.
So moving on from. Let's move on from Marvel for a second. You want to move on from Marvel?
Whoa, wait, you didn't. Wait, whoa, no. We got to talk Doc Ock still, because there was that whole arc.
Oh, the other arc, yeah, where
it's massive.
There's actually more. Yeah, it's the newest arc. So, Spider-Man just did it.
Well, it's not new anymore, but
but Matt read about it. Apparently,
it's one of my favorites.
Doc Ock switched bodies with Peter.
Yeah, well, and Peter's basically at that. Doc Ock's dying. Peter switches bodies with him at the Doc Ock switches bodies with Peter at the last second.
Right.
So Peter's conscience is Doc's frail, decaying body, and in theory, Peter dies. And Doc Ock takes over, and he's in Peter's body. But what's interesting about it is he finds this new leaf on life, and he says, you know what? I've got a second chance. I've already got pre-established life because Peter had a good life. I'm a scientist again, a credible scientist. So he starts dating. In Peter's body, he starts making things better for the college that Peter teaches at. He starts being a better Spider-Man, a more efficient Spider-Man. And it's just interesting how that rivalry transformed Doc Ock into a superhero. At first, he's still an evil superhero at times. He's killed somebody. The Avengers show up and say, hey, what the hell? We're going to take away your Avengers card if you keep killing people. And but Doc Ock does a good job of taking on the mantle of Spider-Man and honoring himself to the point where Peter Parker, in all comics, comes back. His essence never really left his body. He's been there like a, angel on the shoulder kind of thing every once in a while. And Doc Ock basically makes the ultimate sacrifice and with this whole Spider-Verse thing, and Peter's back in his own body. And Doc Ock at that moment in time realizes that his version of himself is going to be erased from existence. And he's like, oh, well, I did what I needed to do. But I just thought it was so interesting how that situation, to me, to cheer for a villain to become good is always cool, which I would say, we're running short on time, but I would say we haven't touched manga So if you wanted to touch your favorite manga, like getting into that where a villain becomes good, I mean, what better story arc than
Goku and Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. No question about it, right?
Or Matthew and Joel, bitter rivals.
Bitter rivals to the end.
In Mario Kart.
In Mario Kart and other aspects, for sure.
And Kirby. Goku and Vegeta are fantastic rivals. We just talked about a bunch of rivals that really started out as villains, or they started out as friends. But nothing really to, like, no one in these comics we really talked about they wanted to kill one another. Like, they know they kind of, like, stopped themselves from ever actually trying to kill, right?
Right.
Like, Superman never tried to kill Batman. Batman never tried to kill Superman unless, like, they never really tried to kill him, essentially, if you think about it. Like, when they first met, right?
Right.
None of the characters did. Not even Doc Ock and Spider-Man. They didn't, when they first met, they were Professor and, scientist and Peter Parker, or, all these people, right? Eventually, they wanted to kill him, of course, all that. But Vegeta and Goku, Vegeta wanted to kill Goku right off the bat. And Vegeta became a main character that eventually now is Goku's rival still, but they're best friends.
Yeah. Well, what's cool about it is Vegeta gets robbed from that killing. And so he, like when your motivation and your ultimate goal in life disappears, it leaves you wondering, what do I do next? And for the first time, he contemplates, why did this person bug me so much? And you kind of find out that you start to admire your enemies or your rivals' qualities. Does that make sense? And like,
well, yeah, I mean, he famously says, like, the only reason why, like, no matter when people try to kill Goku, he in the beginning he would be like, he is mine to kill. Now he keeps him alive because it's his rivalry that makes him stronger.
Right. And whenever they face off as a team with somebody else, he makes it abundantly clear, like, no one gets to kill Goku but me.
Yeah, so it's like this, like, our friendship is there. I still hate your guts, but I have to prove that I'm going to beat you because you hurt me so bad. Like, my pride is telling me, like, I have to take you down no matter what. So I'm going to work together with you until this threat is gone, and then we're going to...
Right.
And then, they never really battle again, really. I mean, at the end of Dragon Ball Super, they kind of bout to, but that they stopped it for the time being.
Oh,
You're not there yet. You're not there yet.
I'm not there yet. I'm way behind. But so that's it. Any other rivals that you can think of? I mean, we've touched the major comic rivals. So
we went through a lot of them.
I mean, there's rivals in every comic. Dr. Eggman and Sonic, for crying out loud. But I mean, the reality is
Mario and Bowser. I mean, we can hit a lot of things. Link and Ganondorf. We even talk about freaking
Yeah, but so I mean, there's other comics and throughout the board, but I feel like we touched on the more popular ones.
We
even
can do Rurouni Kenshin, Himura, and Makoto Shishio.
Gesundheit. On that note, thank you for listening to Entertainment Banter. My name is Matt,
and my name is Joru Des, and I'm done.